So it's finally that time. That time being time to add image integration into your app. So now, here's something that's interesting about building a modern web application with image storage. It's whatever, you guys probably have figured out at this point that you're going to host your app somewhere, right? Here's the thing. Whatever you use to host your application, it is unlikely that you're going to want to use, a server that you've gotten from HostGator, for example, for storing your photos on it. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first one is that those services don't scale well. Meaning, what happens when you run out of hard drive space on one of your servers? And how do you keep track of which servers have what photos stored well? Then there's security issues, there's performance issues, there's all these issues just around storing files in your app, which is what images really are. They're just files, right? And to that point, what I'm getting at is that you're used to storing information in a database. A database works great for strings, numbers, booleans, vanilla objects, anything that really could be represented in more of a text format. A database works great for. A database does not work great for things that are blobs of data, meaning things like, PDFs, images, video, file types that are just sort of static in their nature and just take up a lot of space. So to store our images, we're going to want to use a third-party service. Specifically, we're going to use something called Amazon S3. The S3, it means three S's, so it stands for Super Simple Storage. Basically, what Amazon does is they deal with all the infrastructural issues relating to storing images in your application, and you can effectively you can just use their system. It's really like, it kind of reminds me of Dropbox a little bit. You can programmatically upload your files to their system. They'll give you URLs that you can then save that are strings, right? That you can save into your database. And then you can just load all your images from Amazon's system. And the great thing about this is, then that means they're handling the bandwidth for your images. They're doing all the optimizations related to images. Their system is optimized for images so that it's affordable, right? It would be really expensive for you to host images on your servers. So there's a lot of low-level technical reasons about why this is the correct solution to go. But let me tell you, just about every major provider of any sort of app that has image integration is probably it wouldn't be fair to say all of them, but a huge number of them on the web are using Amazon S3 images. And I'm always I regularly use a website and I'll look at sort of the image tag that they're using, and I'll notice that it's coming from Amazon S3. So let's get started. So you should be at the Amazon Web Services page. If you're not here, you can get here by Googling. And then go ahead and log into your account. And you will be taken to this dashboard. The first thing you want to do is go up to the right here, go to your name, and click on Security Credentials. Now, the first thing it's going to prompt you is you'll have this dialog that comes up that says, oh, you're accessing security credentials. You should follow AW best practices and create access management users. Basically, what they're trying to get you to do is they're saying, hey, you'll probably need to have multiple keys that you'll want to share with, for example, other programmers that are your employees. And you don't want to give them your root keys. You want to create special managed accounts that have limited access to change and break things, so that if you fire your employee, they aren't going to take your security credentials along with them and blast them all over the web and really screw up your app. So the security best practice would be to set up these custom accounts. However, we aren't going to do this today because setting up these custom accounts is a lot of work, and it's just it's like a 20-step process just to get the custom account set up. So we are going to use your root security credentials. So these are just the default credentials that come with your app. That's okay. They'll totally work fine. Just keep in mind that if you start expanding your team, you shouldn't really be sharing these credentials a lot. Then you should start looking at creating custom managed accounts that each have their own security credentials. So just keep that in mind. So I'll just do continue to security credentials. Now you want to get your access keys. So go right here to this drop down that says access keys. And from here, we are going to go to generate new access key. So we clicked on that, and it now says, okay, your access key has been created successfully. So we'll click on show access key, and we have two things right here. We have our access key ID and our secret access key. Let's copy both of these and save them somewhere. So for now, I'm just going to put them in a text file. So you need to save these because as soon as you close this window, and you can just download the key file. They'll give you a text file with those keys in them if you want. As soon as you exit out of this window, you can't look at these keys anymore. They will then be hidden. So you only get a one-time access to those keys. So you need to save them in a text file or something on your system to reference them later. My suggestion would be this. Be very cautious with these keys. People write crawlers and bots and other things that literally scan the web looking for people that have accidentally posted their keys somewhere public, and they'll take the keys and they'll start using them to do stuff on AWS, and they'll rack up thousands of dollars in charges. So you want to be careful about that because AWS, I had a friend that this happened to, and they, the person, AWS was nice enough to just refund the charges on their account and disable the key. Not necessarily though, right? You could definitely get hit with a really large bill by not being secure with these keys. So treat these like passwords. Actually treat them even more importantly than passwords because it's easy for programmers to use them to cost you a lot of money, right? Whereas, with credit cards and stuff, you still have another degree of protection because you can dispute charges and do other things like that. But you don't really have that guarantee here. So download these somewhere. I probably wouldn't put it in an email or do anything like that. Save it somewhere on your file system. Use like a keychain app. Do something to try to keep these secure. And by the way, I will be deleting these keys after this video. So don't try to do anything clever and use my keys either. All right. So we've got our keys generated. And then it'll prompt you one more time to download them. So we'll close that. Now, let's go back to our services up here in the top left menu, and then click on S3. So the first thing we want to do is we need to create a bucket. A bucket is effectively... it's like a folder, right? We're basically creating a virtual folder that we're going to store a bunch of images in. So you can call your bucket whatever you want. And in this case, I'll just call this like the demo bucket. And then, for the region, just do something in America. Oh, so the bucket name does have to be unique again, I guess. So I'll do @bucketwest is what I'll call this one. So meaning when I say unique, it's like a username. It can't be, no one else can be using your username, basically. All right, so there I just created demo bucket west. And now there's a little bit more configuration we have to do. So now, sorry, I'm just loading up the docs here. trying to remember exactly where the library is. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we've got a link here to finish getting this configured. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and put this under the launch code documentation right now. We'll say 8. Adding image upload. And then I'll just put the link right here. So there you go. So now you have, so there you can find the link under the 8th video for adding the S3 upload. So getting back on track, we're here in the bucket creation menu, and now we need to copy some stuff. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set the permissions so that people can see what they save in our bucket. So under the permissions tab, click edit cores configuration, and then we're just going to paste this little block of code. And I think it's under permissions. Yes. So permissions and then edit cores configuration right here. And just delete whatever's there, paste that, and save it. Then the next thing we have to do is we need to edit the bucket policy and copy this. So let's go to add bucket policy. We'll paste that in. And now you'll notice right in here, there's this S3 : your bucket name here. It's exactly what it sounds like. We need to put our bucket name there. And so I called my bucket name demo bucket Wes. So that's what I'll just put in there. Where did that? Yeah. So leave that slash and the star on the end there. And then that should be the only thing you need to change. Click save. Excellent. Cool. So now let's finish getting this AWS configuration set up. So let's go back to the our Launchbox app. And then let's go to the admin panel. Oh, looks like I'm not logged in. And now let's go down to config here on the left. So the first thing we need to do is put our key in and our secret. So if you remember those things that we saved earlier, the first thing will be our key. And now you'll notice it says API secret. The API secret is this, the secret access key. That's what you're trying to use. You know, they're not named exactly the same thing, but the secret is the secret access key. So it's the second option we have here. So we'll copy that. We'll paste that in. Now, here's where we put our bucket name in. So we'll say demo bucket Wes. I think that's what I called it. Yes, demo bucket Wes. Leave the region blank. If you leave the region blank, it'll just default to whatever region you already have set up. This kind of stumped me for a little while, so just leave this field blank and it'll just work as intended. And then this is our S3 path. So what does that mean exactly? Well, basically, we might have different versions of our app that we're loading. For example, we could have a version that we load when we're in development mode locally on our computer, and we could have a version that we load when we're in production mode on a server. And we wouldn't want to share images between the two different versions of our app, right? We don't want to be testing things locally and deleting people's images that are in production mode. So this path gives us a way to separate those two things. So let's just type development in there for now. Cool. And that should be enough. And now let's go ahead and let's try to upload something. So let's go back to our home page. If we go to cats, we add a new cat. It's Fluffy, 8 lives. And let's choose an image. Trying to think if I've got an easy image. just grab this one, this icon. So now I click open, you see it upload, and then it actually shows you the image inline right there that it just uploaded. So now we'll go ahead and we'll submit that. Oh, body here. So let's go ahead and submit that. And now you'll notice we aren't currently displaying the photo. So let's go ahead and fix that. So if you guys remember, that'll be on the template for find one cat. That's what we need to go edit if we want to display the photo. So let's go to find one cat. And now, just add a full width row. Oops. And from here, we are now going to use the image tag. The image tag is something new. We haven't used it before. And there's some special stuff you should know about using images. The first one is that the image tag is self-closing, meaning you're used to seeing this, where you have to have this separate closing tag. The image tag doesn't need that. You just put a slash before the end there and it's happy. So that's a little bit different. The other thing too is that the image tag has this SRC field on it, which stands for source. That's basically saying, oh, the source of the image that we want to show. Really, it's the file path of the image we want to show. If we had files, image files saved in our project here, we could just reference those images and pull in an image that way. However, the way we will do it is we're going to put a URL here instead. So I can put a URL in this spot and it will load that image. So let's take a look at what our cat collection looks like. And you'll notice here that we have this image attribute on each cat. And that we have got this comment in here. The URL of the image will not be saved in .image. It will be saved in .image.url, right? Because this image thing has got some other stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. So let's look at our this current cat. Let's go ahead and inspect that object. So here I'm just going to take the ID from the URL. We're going to find one cat. And now if we drill down on that document, we'll notice image is an object and it's got this really long URL right here, right? This is the URL of the image that just uploaded to AWS. So you can actually take that URL, you can paste it, and let me delete the quotes here. And there we are, that's the image that we uploaded. So that URL is what we want to show in our SRC tag. So to get access to it, we just need to do image.url. So let me come here to the find one cat page. And now I'm just going to do this.image.url. And that's what we'll reference in that spot. And now let's look at our app. And there's the image. Now something you should know, if we try to resize this window here, for example, things are going to get a bit wonky with that image. Yeah, it just stays huge the whole time. It's not very responsive. So every image in your app that you should use should always have a class called img-responsive on it. What that does is it will make your image respond naturally to different screen size changes. So now if you watch your image, as we shrink it down, it will actually shrink with the display and look correct on mobile. So you always need to have img-responsive. If you want to center your image, you can just throw this class on called center block. And we'll just double check that's working correctly. Yeah. So center block will just let you center your image wherever it may be horizontally. So that's a really useful class as well that I use a lot. But image responsive is required. Center block isn't necessarily required. So at this point, you should have pretty much all your image stuff set up correctly in your app. And now, if you go to your bucket, right? So remember, I'm back in the AWS console now, and you click on Demo Bucket Wes, you'll notice right here that we've got this folder named Development. That was the name of that path that we filled out underneath the config panel in our admin settings. So development was the name of the folder that we're going to put all of our current files in. So when you have a production app, you'll instead fill out that field and you'll say production. So that way you can keep your images separate between the two, between when you're just testing your app locally and when you're actually running your app in a production environment. So that way you can stay sane and you're not accidentally deleting photos for your production app. And if you click on this folder right here, you'll actually see there's the image that we just had uploaded for us. And it has an automatically randomly generated ID on it so that every image can be unique. Now, that should be enough to get you started with images. Let me zoom out here. That should be enough to get you started with images. So the key takeaways from this whole thing are you need to be safe with your keys, right? When you go to your security credentials. You need to configure your bucket to have the right settings on it. And then after you've configured those security credentials from this pane, after you've done that, then whenever you want to access an image, you need to say this.image.url. And now image is the name of the field that we called our photo, right? We could have called it, photo, cat photo, whatever we wanted, right? And that was defined right here on our schema. So we can just use this little snippet of code whenever we want to add file upload into our app. And then from there, whenever we want to show those files, we can use a line of code similar to this.